And now we're going to talk about downsizing. Lynn, I know that you recently downsized. You had a beautiful home in Covington Lake Estates, your family home of 20 plus years, and then we're now neighbors in Covington Creek. What did you find to be the most challenging aspect of that move?
Just moving itself. So one thing that you realize is you've accumulated a lot of things over 20 some years. So you almost need to just discipline yourself to every year go through your house and clean out the closets and get rid of things that other people could be using. So, you know, if you have things that you're just not using anymore that were your kids, and go ahead and donate them or give them away to friends or things. But it makes the job of moving after 20 years so daunting to try to go through that. The other thing is, I know that we wasted money on packing things up and storing them only to move them to our new house, and now I've had to go through it about 3 times to keep getting rid of. But I see other people do it all the time too.
So in this downsizing process, do you find that some people are in need of possibly renting a storage unit until they can get their items edited down to fit into their new space and understand how they need to live in their new space?
That is a great idea, Richard, because sometimes, and I've done this before too, sometimes you're too hasty and get rid of some furniture pieces and then you wish you had them. So it's a great idea. So if you could just rent a small storage unit and then maybe keep a few pieces in there that you love that you're not sure about yet, but make a decision on them within, say, 6 months. You can do that.
Excellent. And I'm sure, as we all know, we have family, we have friends, and there's incredible resources to take on these extra things that we realize we no longer need in our new life.
It makes you feel good. It makes you feel lighter, just getting rid of things that you don't need anymore and taking them to a consignment shop or taking them to Goodwill.
Why do you think more people are downsizing? What is it that they're looking for?
I think probably the number one reason that empty nesters downsize is they realize they just have this big house that was full of kids before, and now, they don't need all that space. And I think also after maybe living in a home for a long time, you're ready for a change. I would say just in our case, we loved our home, but it was almost kind of sad walking by all the bedrooms where the kids are gone and they're not going to be back living here anymore. But it was a family home, and it's time for another family to live there. So we decided to go to a villa. We wanted to downsize the yard and the basement. We had 3 floors, and I did not want a basement anymore. I just don't like to go down to basements. So those are the 2 things that I didn't want anymore. So we found a villa that had 2 floors, and in Fort Wayne, in the area, there are not that many villas. There is a real shortage of villas, but it is a great lifestyle when you are an empty nester, not to have to worry about the yard anymore and the outsides. There's a lot of movement downtown right now, a lot going on, so I find a lot more people are saying, hey, I might want to live in a villa closer to town, or even in a condo in downtown Fort Wayne now. So
Well, and there are some incredible options out there.
We have so many people that want to buy villas right now, and we can't seem to find enough of them. Most of them are like the one that my husband and I bought is very, very dated. So we had to go through a 6-month process of redoing the whole home. We got it for a great price, but then we had to remodel the whole thing.
But I have to admit, and as we're neighbors, there is a wonderful sense of community when you move into these areas of villas and condominiums, which is a plus in downsizing. Some people are somewhat lonely to leave a neighborhood where they have friends and families they've grown up with for 20 years. Mm-hmm. I can say in my experience, I created a whole new sense of community where I moved. I have great friends, I have great areas to walk in, and the beauty of it is that turnkey, and I can walk out and go. So Lynn, what do you think most people find difficult in downsizing into a smaller space?
Say you're going from a 4-bedroom home and you want to go to a 2-bedroom, then you need to think of ways you can multi-purpose rooms. For instance, if you buy a 3-bedroom condo or villa and you want to be able to have room for guests sometimes, but it's very rare, then make those rooms into something else you can really use, like an office, but put a Murphy bed on the side.
Oh, great. So someone can use a room as a den, an office space. It's also a bedroom for guests. So it's multi-purposing the space that they find.
Another example of that would be in the villa that my husband and I just bought. We took one room and made it his office, his TV room and his exercise room. It's all in one room.
So repurposing what you have in a new space and adjusting your lifestyle to accommodate.
Exactly.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. This has been very insightful. We hope this has been helpful for you also as you get ready to downsize or are looking to sell your current home.
Joining me now is Dr. Craig McBride, who has been a Reecer Properties client both in Fort Wayne and up at the Lakes area, Lake Wawasee in particular. So what would you say would be one of the primary differences between buying or selling a lake home versus a residential home in Fort Wayne?
Well, the most obvious difference is the difference in price. The lake homes are much more expensive per the size of the home. The beautiful thing there is you don't need as big a home typically at the lake because you don't need so much closet space, you don't need as much garage space, you don't need as much lawn space. You're really just wanting that lake frontage and being at the lake.
Very true. Yeah, and that is how you basically value a lake property, is by lake frontage. The land is usually much more valuable than the home, and there's a wide variety of lake homes. I mean, we have 400 lakes in northern Indiana, so we must have just thousands of lake homes when you add up all those lakes. One of the best things about living in northern Indiana, I think. So when you, after you looked for about 6 months around Lake Wawasee, what was it that caught your attention when you walked in the house that you bought, and you pretty much bought it on the spot after looking for 6 months?
Yeah, I think we'd looked for a long time, including getting online and looking, and my wife knew the style of home that she liked. And we walked into the home that you showed us, and everything was pretty much like what we'd dreamed about. It was that Cape Cod-y style that she liked. It had the more lake frontage. We had sold a home with a little bit less lake frontage. We were looking for a little more privacy and more lake frontage, and everything just seemed right. We walked in, the home had been updated, so it wasn't going to take a whole bunch of
Do you think that was a big factor?
That was a really big factor. And it was priced right. I think the couple that we bought the home from, who had updated it, I think they thought they were going to be using it a lot because they have children and grandchildren. They're from the north side of Indianapolis, and they thought they would be using it pretty much every weekend through the summer months. And they had been there for, I think, 20 years probably. So they had updated the home with that in mind. Very nice secondary bedrooms for the kids. And what they found was that their kids and their grandkids were coming up about twice a year instead of every weekend. And it was largely, from what they told us, largely due to travel sports. So instead of the kids coming up, they were driving down to Indianapolis.
Yes, that's kind of unfortunately, that's had a big effect on the market, the travel sports. I met somebody recently that was very involved in the RV sales, and they said there's so many families now that are buying RVs with washer and dryer in them, and they just drive every weekend from sporting event to sporting event. So that's really had a big impact on the lake, and I think it's a shame, see if you agree, but I think that the time at the lake, whether or not you have a lake home, I mean, when I grew up in Ohio, we had a little 16-foot boat, and we just drove our boat on a trailer and went to different lakes on the weekends, and it was some of the best memories of my whole childhood because you have that unstructured time together.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime you can be at the lake for us is wonderful. And I guess fortunately for us, our kids are older than that now, and so we don't have that issue. So for us, it's more, we have busy jobs. We don't have the time to be gone on vacations a lot. So this is like a little mini vacation. We even go up in the wintertime.
You're right.
And,
45, 50 minutes away is the best part.
Exactly, 45, 50 minutes away, and it feels like it's the other side of the country, yeah.
Well, thank you for being such a great client of ours. We've loved working with you and Melanie.
Well, you've been terrific.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Ossian Furniture.
Magnolia Home by Joanna Gaines is coming to the area in a big way. Ossian Furniture and OFD Total Home are celebrating the grand opening of this new space in Ossian. If you love the look, come and see all that Magnolia Home has to offer. Ossian Furniture and OFD Total Home, We have your style at home.
5 minutes south of 469 on Highway 1, Ossian Furniture.
In this segment, we're discussing a unique partnership, a partnership between a realtor and an auctioneer. Joining us today is Tim McCulloch, president of Shear McCulloch Auctioneers, and Lynn Reecer with Reecer Properties. Lynn, tell me, isn't an auctioneer typically competition to a realtor?
Yes, we are competitors. We're both in the MLS system like all the other brokers and all the other auctioneers out there, and we do compete against each other, but we have a very different method of selling properties.
Tim, what do you find to be the challenge of teaming with a realtor?
I don't think that it is a challenge if you're working with the right realtor. Lynn and I have had many appointments with clients at the same time, face to face, talking about the positives of both of our businesses and both of our methods. And the clients enjoy that because they get to look at two different options and see what fits their, what suits their goals.
Do you find there is more excitement or momentum built around a property that goes to auction?
Well, I think they both have a lot of excitement and momentum when they hit the market. In a traditional listing, there's a lot of excitement about a new listing, but it doesn't stay new for very long. In the auction situation, it does bring out more and more people. People come out of the woodwork actually because there's a set date and it's going to sell that day. When the auction is advertised that day, it is going to sell, and people have this perception that they're going to get the best deal at an auction.
Do you find that there's a double benefit to a client where they may be able to dispose of their personal property at this time along with their real estate?
Yes, if you can do everything in one day, sell the personal property, sell the real estate, they both benefit or complement each other. I've had many cases where someone has come to the property to purchase something other than the real estate and end up buying the real estate.
What has been one of the more, let's say, exciting transactions that you two have done together? I know I enjoyed the auction at the Bishop Knoll Mansion on West Washington recently, and that was quite an event here for Fort Wayne and for both of you.
Yeah, that was a really neat partnership, and in that case, we did list it. That was a historical property, a very, very unique property.
I was going to say the same property, sure. It's refreshing for both of us because we were able to help the client with their needs. They tried the traditional. The market didn't respond to the price, and so then we got together and used the auction to find what the market was and get the property moved for the family.
And everyone is happy in a short-term basis.
Yeah, it was a great experience, and that's a great case. We've probably done about 12 properties together since we started working together, but that was a really rewarding experience for us because we were able to help the client, and I think one of the great benefits in that situation was it was a 10,000 square foot home with many personal items that needed to be moved and packed and taken care of, and Tim's team does that. He has a division of his company called Senior Relocation, and you can tell them a little bit about that.
Right. We can help them with the packing, the moving, the sale of the real estate and the personal property. With the Knoll Mansion, we actually did live internet online bidding, so our team comes in and photographs all the items in the house. They're cataloged online, and bidders from all over the world can competitively bid for the items, assuring that they get fair market value for everything. So we pretty much utilized all of our services for the Knoll Mansion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So today we have with us Nick Henry, co-owner of Housemaster Home Inspections, and also Corey Allen from Reecer Properties, our transaction coordinator and vice president of client service. I personally like to recommend a pre-inspection. I know some people debate about that. So what do you think about the process of getting a pre-inspection?
The people that really, I think, get more benefit out of it are the people that either want to sell their house for a premium or sell their house faster, because they can take that information and it's like staging a house in that.
And who doesn't want to sell their home as fast as it can be? By getting a pre-inspection, which is typically about $300, would you say? Depends on the size of the home.
Depends on the size of the home
$350,
and the age, yeah.
something like that. And you'll get a full report on the house. And we've used that with a lot of clients, and it makes them feel more confident, going into the process of marketing the home. Corey, can you think of some instances where we've had clients where after the fact, when they bought a home and closed, they found a problem that wasn't detected in the inspection?
And one was just a couple of months ago where we had a buyer that we represented, bought a house, moved in, and then went to open some of the windows, and the windows wouldn't open the way they should have opened. And as much time as an inspector spends at the home, it's hard to catch everything. So the recourse would be, the first thing I would do is find out if the seller was aware of this. I'd go back to the inspection report, see if the inspector made any mention of it. And at that point, we would then reach out to Nick or whoever the inspector was for the property and try to get some more information about what exactly happened.
Right. We find that a lot of issues really aren't as important as they may seem. We had one gal move in, and I got a call a couple weeks later, there's water on my floor. First thing we're thinking is piping, of course. So I went out, I looked, we couldn't figure it out. We found out over time the refrigerator was actually thawing and spilling water on the floor. So, first thing you think, and this is a common human attribute, anything you see in a house you think is major. Well, when we research it, it may not be. I know on roofs, you'll see a water stain on the ceiling. First thing you think is, my roof is leaking. Well, it may just be where a vent pipe comes through and there's a crack. It's a $20 fix. But I think human nature, you think it's a lot bigger. So let us come out, take a look, and then we make the next step from there. And we do that as a team. So.
And are inspectors typically insured, so that if there is something that they missed, are they insured?
We are. We're required by the state to have a level of insurance, both errors and omission and general liability. And every inspection company in town should have that certificate for you if you need to see it.
So tell me, Nick, how long do one of your inspections typically take? I know it varies on the size of the home.
The actual inspection will usually take 2 or 3 hours. And then we encourage our buyers to be there, if nothing else, at the end, because it's important for us to sit down with them after we are done with the physical inspection and go through every element of that house and help educate them about what we found, what implications there are, and some recommendations for what they can do. But a lot of them are maintenance issues. We also want to take that person around and show them how to shut the water off, how to change their furnace filter, help educate them, because this is going to be the biggest investment they'll probably make in their life. And if we can help them and the real estate agent understand that house, they can help decide, okay, what's the best way to move forward? And that's where you guys step in after that. We're one small part of the process, but every buyer is allowed to be at that inspection as long as possible. But we really prefer, if they can, the last hour, if they can make that full hour, and we'll walk them through it. So, and it's not a pass-fail or a good-bad. Every house has issues. My house has issues, and I'm an inspector. It's just put in perspective and say, here's what you have.
Very good. That's great information for consumers. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, OFD, what does that mean?
Ossian Furniture Design. And
You mean you guys have everything? Furnishings, accessories, flooring?
That's what Total Home means.
Yes!
Your style at home begins at OFD Total Home in Pine Valley and Ossian Furniture in Ossian. If you're starting from scratch or just dressing things up, our large selection of furniture with hundreds of pieces of artwork and unique accessories are the perfect blends. OFD Total Home, now open in the Pine Valley Shopping Center.
The appraisal process is a very critical phase of the sales process of a property. And today joining us is Reecer Properties client John Ryan and appraiser Mark Swift. So we thought we'd talk about the experience that John recently went through in selling his home in Autumn Ridge. So how did that go, John, as far as getting the home sold first?
We had had our home on the market once previous to that, and it was for not quite a year, but not much happened. And so we met with our friend Lynn Reecer and her company, decided to give you an opportunity to try to sell the home, not in any way thinking that it would be something that happened quickly. Much to our pleasant surprise, on the very first day that the listing hit the internet, we came basically to a verbal agreement with the buyers of our home, and the contract was signed the following day.
So you then went through the process of going through inspection and then appraisal, and how did that go?
Very pleased with the process, the representation, the market analysis that you had done, and the purchasers of our property had a contingency saying that this was our agreed price so long as it appraised for that. The appraisal came in, and much to our disappointment, it was $50,000 less than the actual contract terms that we, the seller and the purchasers, had agreed to.
So I, recall you were very upset. It was a lot of work to get through. We did call in just to get another opinion. We did ask Mark Swift to take a look at it, but it doesn't really help you because you can't choose the appraiser, right? So Mark, tell us what the restrictions are now when you get a loan and the house is appraised.
In today's day and age, the lender actually has a list of appraisers, and in this case, yours didn't go through a lender; it was a cash deal. But the lender is the one that chooses, and so it comes on a rotation, okay? And the lender has their own appraisers on their rotation, and it just every time an order comes in, it just follows the chain.
Okay, and so why do we see, do you think, so much discrepancy between different appraisals?
In theory, you can have 5 appraisers do an appraisal on the same property, and there should be 5 different values. They should be within a few percentage points one way or the other. Mm-hmm. To be off that much, maybe you got one that wasn't as knowledgeable as the other appraiser, and we have a lot of that.
What can we do about this? And do you see any solutions?
Well, as a realtor, it's extremely important to pull sales in the area within a subdivision.
So what would you say to the problem, though, when it's a small neighborhood with maybe 25 homes in it, and one home there is going to be one in there that is the most expensive, and in this case, that was one of these cases, it was a neighborhood like that where it had a pool and it had, a lot of amenities. It was a newer home.
An appraisal that involves, an outbuilding or a pool or something unusual, I try to find at least one, preferably even 2, that have that similar feature. That alleviates the situation of making, very large adjustments for something like that.
Yeah,
so but you don't want to go, say you're in a $150,000 neighborhood, you don't want to go find a competent $300,000 neighborhood. That's where it becomes skewed.
Mm-hmm. Well, good discussion. We could probably talk about it another couple hours, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that there's something you should do in updating your home every year. Lynn, you see hundreds of homes in a year. What do you see as the biggest problem people don't take into consideration in updating their home?
Well, I think the first thing is most people don't keep up with it. So what they need to do, as I've said many times to people, is keep up with updating the whole time you own your home. And maybe just budget every year a project to keep the house up to date.
So updating can be hardware, doors, hinges, lighting.
Absolutely, it's all of that. So your flooring, I think carpet usually has about a life of 10 to 12 years, but yet I'll go in homes that have 20-some-year-old carpeting that's stretched and seen better days, but they're trying to sell the house like that. You can't.
I think we've all seen those. What do you consider to be the most important room someone should truly concentrate on in their budget in updating a home?
Probably the number one room in a home is the kitchen, but probably number 2, this is for buyers, is the master bedroom and suite. Those 2 rooms right there are what really, putting the money in those really pays off.
Do you find that more people are interested in a master bedroom space, or are they looking for more of a suite in the master bathroom?
You know, it's actually the bathroom is more important today than even the room. I mean, I think that, you know, if I were building a new house now, I would have a pretty small bedroom that would just accommodate, say, a king-size bed and nightstands and maybe a TV, but everybody wants large closet right off their bathroom, so everything is right there. So you almost could use a larger master bathroom than you could a bedroom.
And in this master bath, I guess there's probably a lot of us out there that need to reconsider the big jacuzzi tubs that have been installed 20 years ago, with tile all around them. Is that something one should consider for a massive walk-in shower?
Absolutely, that would be a great update. Most people now, when they buy a home with one of the 1990s big, huge whirlpools, they are yanking those out because they took up so much space. So now what people are doing are taking those out and putting in a really great walk-in shower, and if there's room, they can still have a bathtub, but now they're making them much smaller, and you know, they just don't take up near as much space. But I have one in my new house and I love it because the water stays hot longer and it doesn't take very long at all to fill it up. Doesn't use that much water.
What about kitchens? Is it time to open up a wall between a dining room? Is it more of an open space? Are people, have they drifted away from formal dining room?
Yes to both of those things. So the number one thing I probably hear from buyers as to what they're looking for, people will always say, I want an open concept. There's still a need though for some separation from rooms, I think. It's nice for different rooms to have different personalities and be able to identify it as this is the family room or this is the den, but people want them to be very open to each other. So recently in the villa that I just updated for my husband and myself, we took the door openings that used to be really small and we opened them way up. Pam Zilke and Kathy Howenstein, who are our staging and design gals, that was their idea. And it makes a magnificent change in the feel of the home. It's more open, yet there is definition between spaces, so you can have a little different feel to each one.
Thank you, Lynn. These have been some great tips. And I know from experience with working with your incredible design team at my store, OFD Total Home, that you have a great group that is available for hire to help all of your clients in their moves.
Yeah, they're super.